Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features X Factor issue 89, cover dated April 1993. This is a really striking, really eye-catching, very creative and designy cover from Joe Quesada, featuring that close-up on Rain's distressed face, and into her forehead has been branded the number 490, which of course is a reference to Extinction Agenda when she was captured by Cameron Hodge and put through by the G-Engineer the mutate process. Now, it wasn't completed, but she's been struggling with the aftermath of that process, and Peter David has been mining that particular story point for character gold in relation to Rain, and it seems like she's right back in that nightmare scenario here, because X Factor have accompanied the expatriates to Genosha, and maybe things aren't so reformed in Genosha as they have been said to be. But like I said, this is a fantastic cover by Quesada, inked by Milgrom. Really like the details of Rain's fur and hair, and also, as I said, like the emotion on her face too, the tears, the salt tears flooding over her cheeks and even over her nose as well. It really is a great image. Let's open this one up, to the first page, and there is a reference to a scene in the previous issue. So we have this high security door that is unlocking. We can see that here, and there's a voice calling out from behind the door. Sasha Ryan, it would appear that you are not here. Very well, I can wait. I have all the time in the world. So Sasha Ryan is an official of the new Genoshan regime. She is the successor to Philip Moreau as Chief G-Engineer. And in the previous issue, she referenced a final solution to the mutate problem, which is a fairly ringing phrase with associations and connotations that are not exactly positive. So what is going on, and who or what is behind that door? Then we get a double page spread here. We have the title of the story, Dark Homecoming. Like I said, everything is being primed here for readers to wonder about just how reformed Genosha is. And we have our creative team here in the negative space left over by Quesada from the double page spread. Peter David writer, Joe Quesada penciler, Milgrom on inks, Glynis Oliver on colours, and Richard Starkings on the letters. So there's a third person narrator that declares the people of Genosha have lived through some very odd times. Wars between beings whose abilities seem drawn from ancient myth rather than modern reality, but an incoming oddly shaped aircraft that carries a group of American mutants and renegade Genoshan mutants and mutates brings with it the potential to make everything that's come before like an ice cream social. So, the third person narration was portentous to the point of the last caption, where we're reminded that it's Peter David who's writing this. So we got to have a device of bathos, a very strange but slightly comical simile, like an ice cream social. But anyway, then we're into the art. And what a great double page spread by Joe Quesada. You can see that he spent a lot of time here on the architecture of, I think it is the presidential palace in Genosha. And he's left the figures here at the bottom of the double page spread small, so we're getting a long shot of them. It's an intriguing choice by him, but I think it works. It makes for an interesting image, as well as the time he's taken on showing the dappling of the leaves here on the tree trunk, and also this particular statue. And of course, we have a top-down view to begin with of the mutates who are watering and weeding the garden of, I think it is the presidential palace. We'll see soon enough here in the dialogue. So, Havoc, leader, he tells Jamie to knock it off. The president of Genosha was kind enough to see us immediately. He even sent limos for us at the airstrip. So would you please stop doing your Ringling Brothers clown car bit? It's getting old. So Jamie getting out of the car there. We got to have a bit of humor. Strong guy there is stuck trying to get out. His huge hulking form. Love the detail there on his arm as well. So it is indeed the presidential palace. Let's turn the page and continue with the story. So now they're inside into the hallway, and it looks like here that I think it's supposed to be Val. I think that, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's Sasha Ryan here rather who's doing the introduction. She says, "Madame President, may I represent Dr. Valerie Cooper and her associates, the American team X Factor, with the colourful sobriquets of Wolfsbane, Havoc, Multiple Man, Polaris, and then she coughs, Ahem, Strong Guy. They're accompanied by the group the American media have named the expatriates, on whom you've been briefed." And then the president interrupts, "Yes, thank you, Dr. Ryan. You would be the leader prodigal, yes?" And he says, "That's correct." And the president responds, "I know why you had to flee your homeland those many months ago. The previous regime left no alternative. May I be the first to say welcome home." So here we go, homecoming, a welcome home. Again, another interesting choice here by Joe Quesada. We've got this worm's eye view of X Factor, the expatriates. We're looking up and behind Madame President. Intriguing. And then we get this middle horizontal panel here with the figures mostly in silhouette, except for details of their clothes, or in this case, this guy's white hair here. Interesting choice. And Prodigal unhappy with the phrasing of Madame President's aides line here. "Do not expect their gratitude or trust, Madame President. Their kind does not understand about such things." Actually, he's not her aide, rather he is a president of a fictional African country, Asnia. "We had a discussion about his opinions earlier," says Sasha Ryan. "It appears, with all due respect to him, that some people never learn." And he replies pointedly, "With all due respect to you, Dr. Ryan, I could say very much the same of you." So, in Genosha, despite the reformation of the state, there are those whose views are still prejudiced and bigoted against mutants. And how's it all going to pan out? So, Anzia Lee, or rather the president of Anzia, he leaves. Val Cooper is happy to see the back of him. A nice top-down angle there from Joe Quesada. And then you can see here that the conversation continues. The president says, "Ignore him. The man's a twit." And she continues, "You will all be put up in the finest facilities in Genosha. And after you've had some time to rest up, feel free to explore Genosha and experience it as it is, rather than what you believed it to be." So we see there Rain's face as she's looking around. And Madrox says, "Hey, I know you from somewhere, don't I? What was it?" He's there making a joke of the pronunciation of Mur Isle, because of course his association with Moira MacTaggart goes back a long time. She says, "I know the last time we spoke was under less than ideal circumstances." So that was the situation in relation to the dupe who claimed to be the real Jamie Madrox. And so Jamie responds and says, "Oh heck, I love being strapped in a chair and being told I'm a dupe." So Rain tells Jamie to calm down. She sticks up for Moira, and Moira, of course, was Rain's guardian after she was freed from the guardianship of the cruel Reverend Craig. And so Rain takes Moira's side. "It's okay, Moira, I've been keeping myself busy," she says. And again, this is a callback to the previous issue where it looks like maybe Rain pinches Madrox on his posterior. You can see him holding his behind there. "Felt what? I didn't touch you. You squeezed my..." And so she denies it. And Havoc interrupts and says, "I think there's a lot we need to catch up on, isn't there, Rain?" So of course Rain is hormonal for Havoc as well. And again, this all goes back to the messing up of her psyche from going through the mutate process. And again, interesting layouts here from Quesada. You know, he's done all the work on the exterior and interior of the presidential palace. So most of these panels, there's no detail in them except for this statue here. Like, he leaves the bottom panel open of any borders and has the characters once again mostly in silhouette except for little details of their costumes. And it all makes for visually appealing pages. And then we have this ongoing joke of Peter David's. And at this point now, I was thinking to myself, you know, he's got 16 pages of Joe Quesada drawing this issue. And then there's a 6-page backup story focused on Quicksilver, which is part 2 of the backup story from the previous issue. And he chooses to quote unquote waste one of those pages on this joke. And the joke, I think, is it's running out of steam now at this point. We have these villains. They always have plans to attack mutants. In this case, this guy is the brother of Vic Chalker, a supervillain who died previously. And always what happens is they end up miscalculating in some regard and getting killed. And so that's what happens. This particular mutant outcast of the Chalker family. So there you go. I mean, like, interesting art from Joe Quesada, but I wish that his talents had been used on the main story, such as over here. So we see that Rain is having a nightmare, and it looks like that Alex has rubbed a lamp that she is imprisoned in. Hey master, you ain't never had a friend like me, she says, 'cause into each life a little rain must fall. What's your name, kid? So he says, Alex Adden? Alex Adden. Should I just call you Al or just X? But then you'll sound like a Spike Lee movie. So jokes upon jokes in a Peter David script. I'm here to grant you 3 wishes, Al. Name one. So he says, I'd like to be a cowboy. Happy trails, kid. And then in another phase of the dream, she's trapped back in the mutate process in the machine, and she's in horror. I want to wake up now. Somebody help me wake up. So this is really interesting stuff here from Joe Quesada. Again, I find it interesting how he makes, in effect, a backgroundless panel like this interesting by including this ink splatter here around Rain. It's an interesting device that he's using to keep the page visually interesting. So then Alex appears in the dream on a horseback, and it's him who brands her on the forehead like a cowboy. And so she wakes up screaming. Moira's there to comfort her, asks her what happened. We get a top-down view, 3-point perspective of Rain in this huge bed here. And she says to Moira, they're getting worse, the dreams. Make them stop, please. And so Moira tries to comfort her and says, I think you've had enough rest from jet lag, eh? Let's get you over to the labs and run some tests on you. So maybe we're going to get to the bottom of the lingering effects of her going through the mutate process. Some praise here for Quesada's horse. Difficult to draw horses, does a good job there. And now, once again, that technique, that device of the horizontal panel with most of the details in silhouette. And this one is an establishing shot for somewhere in suburban America. And it is Strong Guy. Oh no, sorry, it's not suburban America. Rather, it's Genosha. It's suburban Genosha. But interesting how I got confused there. A little caption would have made that plain. So, what's happening here? What's happening here is that Strong Guy is taking this expatriate that he's taken a shine to, Pirouette, and her name is Jo Beth, her actual name, and she's come to visit her grandmother. I like the little detail of the tomcat there, and that reminds me of the fact that Joe Quesada had such a cat at the time and used to draw him in quite a few of the comics that he drew around this era. There you can see the cat again, and another borderless panel. So Joe Quesada making the art, as I've said a number of times now, visually interesting through the layouts, through the play of light and dark, chiaroscuro, spotting of blacks, all of that. So there's a happy reunion here between grandchild and grandmother, and the grandmother approves of Strong Guy, and you can see that he's delighted with that. So romance seems to be on the cards there for Strong Guy. Another double page spread here. Again, very interesting layouts. We get a close-up on an aspect of the presidential palace, and then they're out in the garden, and you can see that the mutates have been creating topiary art objects from the bushes. There's an elephant, there's a giraffe, and the president calls it my garden of earthly delights. So Prodigal's impressed, and she's delighted. Finally, an approving word from Prodigal about something, anything. But Prodigal replies, I've not found a great deal to comment on. I don't like speaking for no reason. Words are the coin of the realm of thought, and I do not like to waste them foolishly. So we get a close-up here, three-quarter profile, close-up, slight upshot there, like the spotting of blacks again, the shading on the president's face. Very eloquent, she replies. A bit arch, but eloquent. The mutates need someone like you, someone who can act as their voice in the new government we've set up. Thus far, our attempts to undo the physical changes on the mutates have proven unsuccessful, although Sasha is making progress. So now we get another top-down three-point perspective here as they walk along the garden path. But we are working with them to restore their sense of pride, of self-worth. It's been slow going, but... And then the mutate following behind with the wine slips and falls. Another one of these panels where the figures are in this case all silhouette. And she's in shock that she spilled the wine. I don't deserve to live, she exclaims. And the president tells her, calm down, Alice. So gives her proper name. These things happen. It's all right. I'm not upset. And so the mutate there, you're not upset, really, truly? Sigh, really, truly, says the president. As you can see, Prodigal, we still have a long way to go, and their need for firm, unwavering representation is vital. Are you up for the job? Like the detail here on the leaves behind Prodigal's face. Again, this close-up on his eyes, three-quarter profile, spotting of blacks, really well done. Excellent work on these pages. Screen door effect too there on one side of Madame President's face. Excellent work from Quesada. And then we pick up with Rain and Moira and their heart-to-heart chat as they walk through. Is it the suburbs of Hammer Bay, which is the capital city of Genosha? And Rain explains that her problem is men. I mean, I'm thinking about them all the time, about what they feel like and smell like, and then she says, I cannot say it. It's not polite. So Moira responds, Rain, that's part of being a teenager. Even a lass with a strict upbringing like yours is inside a sack of rampaging hormones. And Rain comes back and says, but it makes me feel so weird and I just want to jump out of my skin. Oh, smile, Rain. It'll be all right, says Moira. But she doesn't realize just exactly the problem for Rain. Will it? She asks. Look at me, Moira. Rain, the wolf mutant, more like those wee dogs than a real girl. What man will ever look at me? So Moira says, Rain, I know life's been cruel to you, but it's your heart and soul that matters, child. Everything else is mere shadow and fog. But Rain isn't convinced. Really, Moira, tell me, will anyone look at me like Alex looks at Lorna? Will they? The trouble, as I see it, Rain, is twofold. So now they've switched to the lab. First, Moira's theory about your accentuated proclivities, so her high hormones due to your canine body, seems to be on target. However, your overwhelming biological mating imperative has been exacerbated by psychokinetic conditions that were part and parcel of your being made into a mutate. So Rain doesn't understand there's a mistake here with the speech balloons. This should be separate. This should be going to Sasha Ryan. Doctor, I don't understand all of that. I checked the medical records from when you were mutated, Rain, says Sasha. During the procedure, you were bonded in a master-slave relationship with, and Rain knows, with Alex Summers, between the biological imperatives and the bonding. So all the things I've been feeling, they're forced on me by my body and my mind. Make it stop. And Sasha says, I'll need to run more tests. But Rain is absolutely enraged. I'm a good girl, I am. Make it stop. Really excellent exploration of Rain's character here in the story by Peter David. Like her background, her strict puritanical upbringing by Reverend Craig, and the fact that her body is being messed with through the mutate process, and that she's got growing pains anyway as a normal hormonal teenager, but it's all amplified by virtue of her mutation, her lupine mutation. Great transformation scene here by Joe Quesada, really well done. Good stuff. So, of course, Rain transforms utterly and is completely feral in her transformation. Make it stop, she rages. It's some time later. Moira is studying volumes of reference work on mutates, and Saoirse Ronan is occupied. I'm here, she says, in front of that massive door. It opens again, and the voice, whoever it is, replies, yes, Saoirse Ronan, I know. And we get a full page image here. The figure is in silhouette, and we've got all these tendrils of steam or smoke or gases of some kind. There's a glowing eye there. Looks like this is going to be a very 90s design for whoever this is. Looks like a bit of a bald head or a skull cap. I've been waiting for you, but I will not wait much longer. I've given you time and more time to prepare for my arrival, and soon, very soon, I will walk among you, whether you're ready or not. So Ryan responds, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I'm afraid unexpected complications have arisen. The return of the expatriates has focused much unwanted attention on Genosha. We don't dare continue with our plans until X Factor has concluded its business here. And the mysterious figure in silhouette replies, because of all you've done for me, Saoirse Ronan will acquiesce to your decision on this matter. But I swear the day will come that our country will once again be free of the genetic dregs known as mutants. So is this a native Genoshan of some kind? Is this a character we've seen before? Is it Cameron Hodge? Why would Hodge refer to Genosha as his country? He wasn't born there. So mysteries for the reader, and we won't find out until the next issue, because that's the end of Joe Quesada's portion of the issue, 16 pages. And then we have part 2 of the backup story. This part 2 entitled Cabin Fever. So Quicksilver and his estranged wife Crystal are staying in a cabin that the US government has made available to them via Val Cooper, and things are going very well between them. They have been physically intimate in the cabin, and so there is good vibes between this married couple once again. Here's the creative team: Peter David writer, penciled by Chris Batista, inked by Al Milgrom, letters by Lois Bahalis, and colours by Glynis Oliver. So looks like there's going to be an erotic back rub for Crystal from Quicksilver, but we don't get to see it later. Sorry, folks. Very nice colours here from Glynis Oliver for this sunset up in the mountains. You can see the snow here, the purple, the blue. It's all really well done. And Quicksilver says, it's a beautiful, or rather, it's a sunrise. I'm glad you suggested we have this time together, Crystal, he says. I feel more relaxed than I have in a while. I know, look, she says, you can still see the moon home, because of course that's where the Inhumans are in this area. Atalan is located in the blue area of the moon. Do you think maybe at this moment anyone is on the moon looking down at us? She asks him. Maybe, he replies. After all, this is an Inhuman hour to be up and about. So a little joke from Pietro, because of course his dialogue is scripted by Peter David. Pietro, I've made some stupid mistakes, bad judgment, I admit it, but when you married me, you didn't really think you were getting someone who never made mistakes, did you? She says to him. I think if we're both willing to start clean, we can make a go of it, and let's be blunt, you've made mistakes too, you're not perfect. So he says, yes, I know, far from it. Oh, you may think you are, but is this going to work out? Is there going to be a complication, a twist? Let's see. Wait, you admit it. So she's shocked by that. You've changed, you know that. Is there something going on with you I should know? So he says, well, yes, I suppose there is. This is very difficult for me to admit, but I'm seeing someone. So she stands up, hands on hips. I should have known, the one with the green hair, right? She's thinking of Polaris. Well, yes, that's right. I'm not surprised, she's gorgeous. So this was all she, no he. You're seeing a man? When did you first realise? So Peter David playing it all for laughs. But he sits down and he says, the first time I spoke to him at first it all seemed absurd, but he's very non-judgmental and he brings fresh insight. You do understand, don't you? So she doesn't understand it. I guess I have to. Rain is seeing him too. So we see the comical look on her face there, the bemusement. Why do you look so shocked? He says. You may be young, but it's not like she may be young, but it's not like she needs a child psychiatrist. Besides, when you're talking about mutant problems, Leonard Samson is probably the best qualified. So now Crystal gets it. She's relieved. Samson, the psychiatrist, you're seeing a shrink? Of course, he says. What did you think we were talking about? So she's relieved. So that's the funny business over. Later, Quicksilver goes out to shop. The fridge needs to be stocked up. And here's the peeping Tom. Here's the guy who's listening in on what's happening up there in the cabin on the mountain. So Quicksilver races into town. That's a pretty good shot by Chris Batista. And he stops at the grocery store. This establishment looks adequate to the challenge of buying foodstuffs, he says. Let's get past the advertisements here. Whoops. And let's see here. Sorry. If I can get the pages to separate. Let's see. So a lot going on these couple of pages. So in he walks, and someone in the shop in a suit puts his hand on his shoulder and addresses Quicksilver. Mr. Maximoff, my name is Torque. I cover the superhero beat for the National Reporter on the East Coast. We got word you were here, and Quicksilver says he's got nothing to say to such a rag. Oh, I'm not interested in you per se, Mr. Maximoff, says Torque. Although, if you have any reactions to these, I'd be happy to hear them. So he shows him these shots of Crystal with her gentleman friend, who might be one of her Avengers pals. And fakes, all fakes, says Quicksilver. He's in shock. You print any of these and I'll kill you. Crumble those if you want, Mr. Maximoff, says Torque. I have the negatives and your empty threats are. So Quicksilver punches him out right into the corner of the shop, knocking over some cans, breaks the man's nose, throws him out on the street, pulls him up by the lapels of his jacket. I'll kill you, he says, easily and with impunity. If you're driving, I can crash your car, or maybe I'll take you out for a 300-mile-an-hour run so you asphyxiate or have a heart attack, or maybe you'll just fall down a flight of stairs one day or trip into traffic. 100 little accidents can happen and no one will ever suspect homicide, much less prove it. I could be the man who wasn't there, so you will do nothing to humiliate my wife, understand? So the guy says, you're bluffing. I don't have to bluff. Nothing can stop someone with speed in his legs and murder in his heart. Remember that, Torque. And then he goes into the shop, picks up the groceries, a crowd is gathered. Have a nice day, he says as he walks away. This is really, really good stuff from Peter David. Really thinking out what Quicksilver could do if he tapped into his dark side. And remember, he was originally a member of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. He has a temper, he's impatient, but when his wife is threatened like that, he really feels the rage enough to, maybe follow through on some of these threats. So he arrives home. Crystal's delighted to see him, but she recognizes that something's up with him, with his body language. Crystal, are you seeing someone? He asks her. And she replies, no, of course not. Pietro, something's happened. You've got to be honest with me. I mean, if we can't be honest, then we've nothing, no hope. So what's going on? And he doesn't tell her. He doesn't confide in her in what happened down in town. Nothing, I swear. I'll put the groceries away. So what was going on? It didn't work. He knows there's no explicit pictures, says Torque. No, it worked. He thinks there's not, but he's suspicious. It's different now between them. You sure? Asked Torque. Trust me, says the guy with the moustache. Way different. So we've screwed up their reconciliation, and stimulated the homicidal impulses of the son of Magneto. This has been an excellent day, Torque. And of course, we got to have a joke, tell it to my nose, and you can just see everything's falling apart between Quicksilver and Crystal. It's terrible. So she wants to go home the next day. She's crying. He's got nothing to say to her except fine. They're sleeping on either side of the bed. I like the way that Batista shrinks the size of the panel there. What a sad ending to a story that was potentially one of reconciliation between Quicksilver and Crystal. And it's all screwed up by this guy, whatever his agenda is, and however it fits into Fatal Attractions, the coming crossover through the X titles, the return of Magneto. So one page of letters there, close up there on Random, his first appearance in the previous issue. Next issue, Wolfsbane versus Polaris, Havoc versus the Genoshan president, and the true secret behind the Genoshan cover-up is revealed. Well, I do hope that you enjoyed this review and commentary on X Factor issue 89. Let me know your thoughts on this one in the comments section. If you enjoyed my review and commentary, please like and share the video. It really does help the channel. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.